All right. Mail-in ballots. These things are the downfall of America. They certainly are the downfall of California. We know that in these cities and towns, counties, the counting doesn't stop until the Democrat candidate wins. And that's just the bottom line. We see this not just in California, but in Michigan, Atlanta, Georgia, and other blue cities where they have weaponized the mail-in ballot. Well, there's reasons why they love the mail-in ballot, because it is ripe for cheating. Even Jimmy Carter's commission that was tasked to investigate mail-in ballots found that they were ripe for fraud. We saw recently a Michigan city councilman stuffing ballot boxes caught on security tape. In Texas, just this year, 2025, 6 individuals caught illegally collecting mail-in ballots and using them for political purposes. Other cases in Texas, you had fraudulent signatures being discovered on mail-in ballots and people arrested for that. All across the country, there is evidence of mail-in ballot fraud, and yet the left doesn't want to see it or hear about it. Well, this is President Trump saying he's going to make an executive order to do away with mail-in ballots. This is much needed.
Mail-in ballots are corrupt. Mail-in ballots, you can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt. And you know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses them because of what's happened. Massive fraud all over the place.
All right, so he is correct from what I can see, too. Nobody's using mail-in ballots. That used to be called absentee ballots. Do you remember that? You're going on vacation or maybe you're out of town for work and you needed one. You call the registrar, hey, can you send me an absentee ballot? And you get approved for that. Now in California, they just send them to everybody by hook or by crook. You know, they're rounded up by those crooks that haven't been hooked. And then they're submitted to ultimately be counted when needed. So how do we know that they're being used fraudulently and people are registering to vote fraudulently? John Solomon, my buddy over at Just the News, has done some tremendous work on this. And he was laying out the case. You remember this? The Chinese individuals who are getting Chinese driver's licenses. Used in California, too, by the way. Listen to John Solomon lay it out. Cut 30.
Story that Kash Patel turned over to the Congress, documents showing that the FBI suspected that China was mailing tens of thousands of fake driver's licenses to Chinese citizens here so that they could create fake identities and then cast mail-in ballots for Joe Biden in the 2020 election. Massive interference. What happened to that memo, according to Kash Patel told me, for some reason, it was recalled and it wasn't investigated further. Someone sent it out and the FBI called it back and then no one ever investigated, even though there was corroborating evidence. What was the corroborating evidence? Customs and Border Protection intercepted 20,000 of those fake IDs.
Where?
In Chicago, going to Midwest states. Oh, the battleground states, of course. Yeah. They had the corroboration even. They pull it back. I just got text of these two memos for the first time. I'm going to tell you the back one first, and I'll go back to the juicy part in the beginning. When they recalled the memo, they asked all their sister agencies in the intelligence community to destroy the memo that had been sent out. That's very odd. You don't normally destroy raw intelligence reports. Somebody didn't want this to be discovered. Now, let me tell you what the memo actually says. It lays it out
for a second. Think about what John Solomon's saying here. There's a memo that goes out that says the Chinese, this is intel, are sending tens of thousands of driver's licenses to have their citizens who snuck into this country by the tens of thousands to then apply for a voter ID card so they can get a mail-in ballot, ultimately vote in the election. You heard him talking about the swing states where this was happening. And the FBI shuts the investigation down. They were going after President Trump for Russian collusion that never happened. Meanwhile, it sounds to me like the Democrats were colluding with China to rig the election through a mail-in ballot scheme. and the FBI shuts it all down. These are the people that we need to go after. Who was the one responsible for shutting an investigation down that clearly had tangible evidence of a crime? The Customs and Border Protection intercepted 20,000 fake driver's licenses, 20,000 of them. Continue, John Solomon.
In late August 2020, the Chinese government had produced a large amount of fraudulent United States driver's licenses that were secretly exported to the United States. The fraudulent driver's licenses would allow tens of thousands of Chinese students and immigrants sympathetic to the Chinese Communist Party to vote for U.S. presidential candidate, U.S. person Joe Biden, despite not being eligible to vote in the United States. China had collected private U.S. user data from millions of TikTok accounts to include name, ID, and address to facilitate this capability. Very specific. It comes from a source who's been working for the FBI just under a year. During that period, he was working with the FBI. He was chronically corroborated, so he was deemed to be pretty reliable. But there are things in this memo that clearly are wrong. It says, first off, we haven't corroborated everything here. It's out to just get lead generation. Two, we don't see address fields in TikTok, so maybe that part of the information could be wrong. But it was clearly meant to be a lead gen for investigators to go out and find out, was there about to be a massive...
Right. We know who pulled back the FBI.
All right, so again, that was a good question going to be asked, was who pulled it back? And that's what the investigation is going to be looking into. My guess is this is going to go straight to James Comey. James Comey, the Swiftie now. You know, he loves Taylor Swift, the former director of the FBI. This guy's just weird. I don't understand what he's doing. And he once claimed to be a Republican, which is such a joke. He's waging war on the Republican Party and freedom in America. That James Comey is. So that from John Solomon. Now, that doesn't tell you need to do away with mail-in ballots. I don't know what does. All right, very easy to manipulate elections with mail-in ballots. Now, this is another gentleman by the name of Warren Davidson. This is cut 33. Roll that.
Right. You can't have an honest election if you don't have an honest census. And right now, one of the most important things President Trump is doing is directing Commerce to redo the census. They counted illegals. California's got lots of illegals. People estimate they've got 6 or 7 extra representatives in the House, in the U.S. House, because they're counting non-citizens in their population. If you're not a citizen of the United States, you have embassies and consulates. Congress is designed to represent the citizens of this country. But when you look at the fight, they didn't accidentally flood the country with all these illegals coming.
So it wasn't an accident. Now, Warren Davidson's congressman from Ohio, but he's specifically talking about California. Notice that. And the reason he talks about California is California's ground zero for all of this. So now we know that they're using the inflated numbers to draw congressional districts because illegals were included. All of this stuff, by the way, is connected, folks. You can see how it all plays out here. So now you got the mail-in ballots, but you're drawing congressional districts, inflating them basically with illegal aliens. Do you know California Senator Caballadone? I don't know if that's how you say his name or not. He basically admits it. He's giving a speech on the Senate floor in Sacramento, and he admits why we need illegals in California. When I say we, why he, the Democrats, need illegals in California. To pad the numbers, to increase the numbers so they can get the districts. And again, they're so dumb, these Democrats. They say it out loud because they think this is a legit way of doing business. I really do believe some of them think this is legitimate. It's not. It's a complete fraudulent coup attempt of the United States. Run the clip from Senator Caballadone, number 31.
Way to preserve redistricting in the future is to make sure that that doesn't become the case. If if a year from now, or a month from now, or if a week from now, if your cousin is kidnapped off the street, if UCLA closes down, if we announce that there won't be an election, if the census that we're relying on for the commission's next stab at redistricting doesn't include 1.5 million Californians in it, if we have no democracy left and we look back and said, if only we could have done something. Well, the nice thing about this is
if the census doesn't include 1.5 million Californians in it? Hey, Dodo Bird, they're not Californians, okay? They may want to be Californians, but they're not Californians. They're illegal aliens from countries all across the globe. But where they were not born is in California. Where they do not have legal residence is in California. Therefore, they should not get representation in the United States Congress or the United States Senate, or quite frankly, either body in Sacramento. They're not Californians. But this, again, is something very difficult for Democrats to acknowledge. Why? Because they need these illegals to pad the numbers in every way, shape, or form. That's the scheme. That's the scam. It's been exposed. Now the question is, will Californians wake up? Will Michiganders wake up? Will folks in Illinois wake up? What do they call Illinoisans? I don't know. Annoyans may be good for most of those Illinoisans. But anyway, it's time to wake up. Some people are, some people aren't. All right, does anybody notice a difference with me? I've lost now, yes, if you can believe it, 12 pounds in just 3.5 weeks on the Energized Health program. The secret is in the science, but it's also in the simplicity. I am not killing myself with workouts. Yes, I work out with weights, and I always had, but I've added in a very small workout to this program. Super easy. I have a diet plan now. I am never hungry. I don't feel like I'm struggling through this diet. It is super simple. And I'm getting myself hydrated. It is all about cellular hydration, and the results you can achieve are absolutely astonishing. And I'm telling you firsthand, folks. I got involved with them. They came to me and said, hey, we want you to try this out. I said, okay. I could tighten things up a little bit, and bing, bang, boom. I'm on track, man. And I credit energizedhealth.com/grant, energizedhealth.com/grant. There's coaching involved in this. There's recipes involved in this. The plan is all laid out for you. And again, it is super simple. This is life-changing, mind, body, soul. It's a total body transformation. God bless the folks at Energized Health who are helping me. energizedhealth.com/grant. Check them out today. All right, Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles finds herself in some trouble. She is delaying the Palisades fire report at the DOJ. This is the Department of Justice's request because the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the ATF, is investigating the incident. They want to delay this report until they can figure out an exact cause. You know that Bass has been accused, as many of the LA leaders, of slow response times. Fire department has come under fire. PG&E, everybody's. This thing was a disaster. And then I see this on X that we got fire trucks that are still broken down. That was one of the criticisms, that we didn't have enough fire trucks because many of them were under maintenance. Well, this reporter visited the maintenance facility, cut 23.
After the Palisades fire, as many as 75 LAFD trucks were out of service at this maintenance yard. 7 months later, this is what it looks like. We count as many as 15 fire trucks and dozens of ambulances.
All right, so still so many trucks out of service. Well, City Councilwoman Parks was asked about this. Roll that, cut 24.
I think we still have a long way to go. I think we have the attention of the leaders in our city, and I think we have a lot of effort ongoing to begin the process of righting this ship. But the reality at the end of the day, we need new fire stations, we need massive hiring, and we need to expand the resources that are available.
So what you're saying is spend more money. It seems like they should have spent the money before and not on all the other woke crazy nonsense, so we would have been prepared. This, to me, looks like a lot of treading water when they should have been swimming forward long before the fires. Well, nobody knows these fires better about the response, about where we go from here, about what's happening, than our own Joel Pollack of Breitbart.com, a victim of the fires, too, as well. Joel, welcome to the program.
Hey, Grant, how are you?
I'm good. So what do you make of the Fed saying, hey, hold up on this after action report and end fire trucks still in maintenance?
Well, I don't know what's going on with the report. I actually have been asking about that myself. For months, I've been asking the ATF what's going on. And today I asked the feds why they're delaying the report. I'm not getting any answers, but I don't think there are going to be any surprises in the report. Frankly, I think they're going to figure out or announce that it was most likely started by fireworks on January 1st that reignited in the high winds on January 7th. And then there's going to be a lot of finger pointing at the fire department for not putting out the fire, or at the state, at the governor for not deploying firefighting resources to that area. And there are going to be a lot of people blamed. And so maybe they're just trying to get their ducks in a row before they start the firing squad. But I don't think what happened. And I think there's a lot of blame to go around.
All right, Joel, it's easy for guys like me, guys like you, Breitbart, Salem Media, Real America's Voice, to come and kick and scream about all the woke policies that L.A. had, and the fire department was overtaken by wokeness. Can you give me, I know you always give me an honest answer, but the most honest answer you can, did any of that really play a role? Did the wokeness of the fire department and the diversity, equity, and inclusion offices and all of these things, did this play a role that hindered response?
Yes, absolutely. Let's take a couple of examples. So it's not just the wokeness in the fire department, but the vaccine mandates that went back a few years. They cost personnel, they hurt morale, and they meant that there wasn't the available resources before the fire. That all played into it. Then at the LA Department of Water and Power, where the reservoir, 117 million gallon reservoir, was empty on top of the hill where the fire started, that had to do with wokeness to some extent as well, because the CEO of the LA DWP, even though she herself is a highly qualified engineer, made wokeness her priority. Her top priorities, as she listed prior to the fire, were increasing the diversity of the LA DWP. Well, that can't be your top priority. Your top priority, if you're the head of the LA Department of Water and Power, is water, and then your second priority is power. And if you don't have water, you can't do your job. So, yeah, for sure, wokeness definitely played into this, and it's frustrating because people predicted that that was going to be the result. When you hire on anything other than merit, and when you shove ideological projects down people's throats, you cannot keep people safe, and you can't even accomplish the basic things that even the woke people want to accomplish. You can't help the people who are supposed to be benefiting from these policies. So, yes, it did play a role.
All right. Are we any better off now than we were before the fires?
How do you mean?
Well, as far as wokeness goes inside the fire department, and I guess, we just said all those fire trucks are still in maintenance. You got 15, 20 of them there. Are we more prepared now than we were then, or are we still at risk?
Well, the reservoir is filling up or full, so that's good. But I don't think we're any further along than we were before, because the same people are in charge. Mayor Bass didn't really take any responsibility. Gavin Newsom is out campaigning for president, trolling Trump on X and social media rather than doing his job. So, no, the only person who was fired was the LA Fire Department chief. And maybe she deserved to be fired, but she wasn't the person who handed the fire department $23 million in proposed cuts. She may have decided not to deploy the firefighters the day before the fire, but she had no money to work with, and the city cut her budget, I think, ultimately by $18 million. And that was Karen Bass and the city council. So there's been an emphasis in LA on all the wrong things. And we don't feel, I should say as residents, don't feel that there's been any improvement in our priorities or our needs.
Which
I will say that the neighbors are doing a great job of getting organized, but the city and the state, forget about it.
All right, last question real quick, because, it's an interesting spot to be in. Joel Pollack, obviously a editor for Breitbart and so instrumental in covering the news here. And then you become a victim of one of the biggest news stories to hit Southern California as well while trying to cover it. Is there any movement on permitting and getting these homes rebuilt, if you can, in 30 seconds for me?
There's some movement. I would say probably about 30% of the permits that have been applied for have been approved, but there are only a few people who've actually applied for permits because the cost of doing this hasn't been waived yet. So Karen Bass promised to waive the cost of permitting, but she doesn't really have the power to do that. The city council hasn't voted on it yet. And there are all kinds of other roadblocks. So there has been a little bit of progress, but generally things are going far too slowly on the city permitting level. What the federal government has done has generally gone pretty well, clearing the debris, clearing hazardous waste, providing small business administration loans, all very proactive, all very good. What the city and state are supposed to do, all very bad.
Yeah. Joel Pollack, tell people where they can find you.
Breitbart.com, at Joel Pollack on Twitter.
All right, buddy, we appreciate you. Good luck going through all of this stuff.
Thank
Always
you.
appreciate your insight. Absolutely. So, folks, how about that? The city council hasn't approved waiving the permits? Like, that's the easiest thing you could do. You just all come in, sit down one morning. Hey, I think we waive the permits for fire victims. I support it. Move on. And here we are. This many months later, 8 months later, and they still haven't done that? People should be outraged. This city's a freaking disgrace, man. I'm sorry. It's not the city, the leadership. The leadership in this city is a disgrace. And I hate to break the news to y'all. The people that vote these leaders into office, they're a disgrace too. All right, up next, we'll continue with a little bit more of this, and then we got the Trump MAGA minute. This stuff makes me angry. I don't know about you, but it really does. It makes me angry because it's an easy solution. And the city council sits on their butts and behinds while people suffer. And that's the easiest one. That's money. They could sure spend it. But the moment you try to take a little away from them, oh, boy, they tighten up, tight as a frog's you-know-what. I'm Grant Stinchfield. Yes, I am. Well, folks, I want to tell you about Patriot Mobile. I have a Patriot Mobile phone. I'm so happy with it. Patriot Mobile is all about supporting the programs, causes, charities that believe in the things we believe in. Why would you be giving money to the big three woke cell phone companies that literally practice DEI policies inside their corporate structure? They literally fund places like Planned Parenthood, when you could be with Patriot Mobile that's supporting our veterans, that's protecting our gun rights, that is literally taking the fight when it comes to free speech to the left, putting "In God We Trust" signs in schools, and for this, the media comes after them so hard. Patriot Mobile. I urge you to get a Patriot Mobile phone. Hey, I got a Patriot One plan. One phone, two lines, two different networks. So in an emergency, one network's down, I got it covered. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. That's where I want you to go. Use the promo code GRANT for a free month service. And I promise you, you are not going to regret it. You can call them at 972-PATRIOT. 972-PATRIOT. And you tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you. Sometimes it's the littlest details that in my mind make the biggest news. Now, I can't believe we're going on, 8 months since these fires, Palisades fire, Eaton fire. And the city council has not waived the permits to rebuild. They've not waived the permits. It's like the easiest thing you could do. And then I see the fire department. They know they got a problem with their fire engines and fire trucks. And you got a reporter outside of the maintenance division, cut 23, Dan.
After the Palisades fire, as many as 75 LAFD trucks were out of service at this maintenance yard. 7 months later, this is what it looks like. We count as many as 15 fire trucks and dozens of ambulances.
So maybe Paul from Sherman Oaks can calm me down. I don't know. Maybe he'll get me fired up. Paul, you wanted to weigh in on everything going on.
Oh, yeah, Grant. Take your blood pressure medicine for this report, buddy.
Okay.
So right now, the Los Angeles Fire, and by the way, Joel laid it out perfectly. What I'm going to do is get a little bit more granular with the problems that remain at the fire department. Right now, the Los Angeles Fire Department has no chief, and they have had no chief for exactly 6 months now. The Los Angeles Fire Department has never gone this long without a chief. Mayor Bass just posted the job opening of fire chief on July 28th, 6.5 months after she fired, 5.5 months after she fired Chief Crowley. Number two, the LA Fire Department has no union looking out for its members right now because UFLAC, the United Firefighters of Los Angeles City, had a big uproar with its upper management. It was taken over by the national union, the IAFF, International Association of Firefighters. So there is no UFLAC union advocating for the members right now. That's my job right now. Number three, the LA Fire Department has no fire commission right now because they decided, because they're running and hiding from me and my confrontations with them over the past 4 months, they took the entire month of August off. When they're in the middle of fire season, they have no chief, and they're responsible for the investigation of the Palisades fire that the mayor tasked them with doing, and they're not doing it because they're running and hiding from me because I'm accusing them of malfeasance and impropriety. So we got a lot of problems at the fire department. Morale right now is at an all-time low. Based on what Joel said about the vaccine mandates and the firings, Grant, I was at all those Board of Rights hearings, 25 of them. And I watched firefighters getting fired, including Nate Helpton, who was an engineer who, guess what, fixed fire trucks. I watched them fire Matt Mamone, an engineer who was a USAR specialist and on Task Force 1 and would probably be deployed to the hurricanes in Florida right now if it wasn't for understaffing. And then let me get real granular on what the problem is at the fire department and why DEI still remains. Tom Henskin was a captain who was promised to be chief by Kristen Crowley. After 4 months, Kristen Crowley decided not to promote Tom. Tom is a structural engineer, a general contractor, and he's a captain in the fire department for 30 years. He would have been a perfect chief. He would have been on the Olympic Safety Committee for the city of Los Angeles for LA 28, but no. Chief Crowley passed Tom up, and Tom retired 7 years too early. 7 years. That's the problem with our fire department right now. It still reeks of DEI, although Chris Larson, the big fat blob, who said if a man gets himself trapped in a building, why am I going to get him out? She got demoted. Katie Kepner, who was in charge of Professional Standards Division, who was attacking all the vaccine firefighters, she got demoted, and she's hiding out at the airport right now. So a couple things are happening, Grant, but the fire department has no backup, just me. I'm the only one.
Let me ask you then about the maintenance issues. We had this reporter showing, 15, 20 trucks in the maintenance yard. How is LAFD doing on that front?
We have not hired a single mechanic. The only job opening in the Los Angeles Fire Department right now is for the fire chief. They're not hiring anyone. I'll take you to a couple more repair yards where there's even more trucks in disrepair. Even if we had the firefighters, we don't have the apparatus to put them in, Grant. And that remains a huge problem.
So that's just one yard? There's many maintenance yards. It's not just one?
Yeah, there's a couple maintenance yards around the city. Yes. I'll take you to them. All the guys will invite me in. I'll take you yourself if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paul in Sherman Oaks, here's the deal for everybody else out there. This is going to be some shameless self-promotion. I was so flabbergasted by all of this stuff coming out. Here we are 8 months later. There's no better expert on these issues than you. You're coming on the Real America's Voice show tonight. It's going to be 4 p.m. our time, folks, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And I'll see you tonight, Paul. We'll let them have it.
I'll send you some good videos too, Grant. We'll see you tonight.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. That's Paul in Sherman Oaks. This story is so important. So you've got the safety aspect of this story, and then you've got the victim aspect of this story, meaning Can you just waive the permits, for crying out loud? Waive the fees? How long does that take to do? Not long. And all these other things, no fire chief, no fire commission. And yes, as Paul said, we're in the middle of fire season. The middle of fire season, folks. Wow. I'm going to ask you a question, folks. Do you have an emergency medical kit from the wellness company with all of the antibiotics, antiparasitics, antivirals that you need? I have multiple kits. I've refilled some of these kits. Speed of delivery when it comes to getting medications into your body during a time of need is critical. Check this thing out. I mean, how cool is this? Amoxicillin in here. A Z-Pack is in here. Oh, by the way, ivermectin is in here, right? So you come down with COVID, you start popping that. They got a handy-dandy little guidebook as well that will help you through the use of all of this. This is the guidebook. It works great. Folks, you got to have one of these kits. You should have ammunition, water, food, but you need prescription medications as well. The Wellness Company can help you with that. TWC.health/grant. TWC.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off, and I promise you, you will not regret having this. The only thing you'll regret is not having it when you need it. TWC.health/grant. Get one today. Use that promo code GRANT. The Sanctuary City War is brewing, and I love this battle. This is a battle that needs to be fought for the safety and security of Americans all across this country, and nobody knows this more than the people of Los Angeles. Nobody knows this more than the people of Chicago and Baltimore and Detroit and all of these blue cities. Throw Atlanta in there, you name it. How about Boston? Boston's one of the worst sanctuary cities going. Now, Pam Bondi said if you don't start complying with federal law, this is our Attorney General, we are going to pull federal funding from your cities. That means complying with ICE detainers, and that if you're here illegally and ICE wants you, you better help capture these people, hold these people so ICE can pick them up and ultimately take them out of the country. Now, none of these sanctuary cities, you can imagine, want to comply with this. They're flabbergasted. How in the world would you think we'd have a government that wants to come and take people who didn't come here legally? How can this be happening? Mayor Wu of Boston is leading the charge on this delusional delinquency front. Here's Mayor Wu, cut 35.
We're here again today because last week, Boston received a letter from the Attorney General of the United States on official letterhead from the federal government threatening to prosecute city officials and withhold federal funds unless we cooperate with carrying out mass deportations. At a time when this federal administration is already causing so much fear and harm in our communities, these threats are serious and consequential. But our same communities have told me, loud and clear, that silence in the face of oppression is not an option.
Pause this, please. What is oppressive about trying to round up criminals? Do you know what's oppressive? Is when you're afraid to walk down the street. That's oppressive. You know what's oppressive? When you've got a 16-year-old daughter and she says she wants to go to the Sonic nearby, but you're afraid of letting your 16-year-old daughter go and get a Slurpee from 7-Eleven at 9 o'clock at night. That's oppressive to me. And why are you afraid for your kids, your family, yourself? Because criminality is flourishing, especially in these sanctuary cities. There's nothing oppressive about going and saying, hey, you're here illegally. You can't stay. You got to go home. We're going to help you go home. So please get in the back of the cruiser and we're going to fly you home. Or before you get to that point, fill out the application online on that CBP One app, which is now the Home app, and get a few bucks and a plane ticket back to your home country. That's the best way to do it. You'll save yourself a lot of headache in the end. So Stephen Miller, one of the president's chief architects of the deportation plan, talked about mayors like Wu of Boston. 34.
Let me just break down for your audience, Sean, how severe the crime committed by these sanctuary cities is. So you'll have a situation where local police in Boston will arrest an illegal alien who's a child predator. And ICE will then send what's called a detainer request or a hold request, and will say, don't release this person, hand them over to ICE, and we'll remove this child predator from our community. Instead, these sanctuary mayors will order the police department to ignore the federal request to set them free out of the jail, out of the prison, and they will go back into the community, and then they will reoffend. They will hurt another little girl. They will hurt another little boy. And then ICE has to spend weeks scouring the community to find this public safety threat. What they're doing, Sean, is evil, and President Trump will see that they are held to account for their crimes.
And yet, Democrats defend that. They're on the wrong side of this. They just will do everything they can to take the opposite position of President Trump, even if President Trump is taking the position of what most Americans want. And most Americans want safe and secure streets. Now, do I want to round up every illegal alien? Yes. If you're not a criminal besides the fact of breaking into the country, I would like to do it in a humane and respectful way, which is why I think the self-deportation is the best route. I don't want anybody wrestled up and roused about. I don't need all that. But if you're a Tren Aragua MS-13 gang member, quite frankly, with a wink and a nod, I don't care what agents do to you. You're a terrorist. Waterboard you before we send you home, for crying out loud. I don't care. But we've got to get everybody home so we can start this process over. Now, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, he is working the DOJ front on illegal immigration. He was on with Laura Ingraham, and I want you to hear what he had to say. This is cut 36.
Will they begin to see real pain in terms of losing federal funding since they are making the cities more dangerous with their policies?
I mean, it's not just, yes, so federal funding, but this is about safety. It's incredible to watch the Boston mayor and some other mayors as well try to justify their conduct and justify what they're doing in their cities.
They don't care, Todd. They don't care. So what are you going to do about it? They not care, and they're giving you, the big middle finger. They don't care.
Well, what we're doing is we've filed lawsuits in 9 states already, and you can expect more of those to come. There's potentially criminal investigations coming because in lots of situations, these cities are not just enacting sanctuary laws where they protect any information from coming to the federal government about illegal criminals that are here, but they're actually obstructing our efforts to do so. All we're trying to do, think about this for a minute, Laura. We're saying, can we go into your jails? The people that are charged with crimes, can we go in and find those who are here illegally and get them out? And people like the Boston mayor are saying no. How voters are okay with that in any city is beyond me, but President Trump's not okay with it, and I'm not okay with it. And so, yes, look, we've already filed lawsuits. You can expect more of that. We're putting a lot of pressure on these cities, and the fact that the mayor had to come out and say that is a good start, but there's a lot more to come.
Can you believe, folks, that there are mayors in this country, like Karen Bass in L.A., like Wu in Boston, that are not allowing you to go into the jails? And this has been a long time thing. This is nothing new. And I'm going to remind you, look what President Trump has done in D.C. when it comes to battling crime the right way. Robbery down 46% in just over a week. Carjacking down 83%. Car theft down 21%. Violent crime down 22% in just over a week. This is a D.C. resident saying, thank you, President Trump. Cut 4.
I feel safer. I do. It doesn't bother me at all. I just feel more military police presence there are. I just feel like I'm more inclined to be downtown more often than I usually am, especially in the evenings.
I hate to break the news to everybody. People like seeing law enforcement around. And I'm not a fan of having the National Guard marching the streets until you get to the point where your city is a war zone. And that's what happened to Washington, D.C. The murder rate, I just got texted from my friend John Lott of the Crime Prevention Research Center. The murder rate in D.C. is 500% higher than the average city in America. 500% higher. That's a war zone. No wonder you need the National Guard there. So as this continues to play out, President Trump needs to continue to do his thing. Pam Bondi needs to do their thing. Tom Homan needs to do their thing. And here's the most important cog in this wheel. You and me, together, we do our part by explaining why this needs to happen to your liberal friends and family in a very respectful, calm, cool way. And then let them see the results of all of this. But we play a big part in this. You know, the positive reinforcement of what's happening. Don't let your squishy Republican friends say, oh, geez, you know, it scares me when they go and pick people up at Home Depot. Explain to them what's really going on here. They're going after people that are wanted. If they happen to be at Home Depot, then so be it. But happens to be an MS-13 gang member inside one of our high schools and you got to arrest them there, then so be it. But we've got to keep the pressure on, because if we want this country to be a safe nation, this is the way you do it. God bless Trump, God bless his team, and God bless America. That's going to do it for us today. Thanks for watching Stinchfield, the podcast. Great to be with you. GrantStinchfield.com is the website. Stinchfield1776 on all the social media platforms. And listen, if you're watching now, like the video, subscribe to the channel, please. That's so important. And if you can, share the podcast with all of your friends. Word of mouth is the best way to build Stinchfield's Army. I'm grateful to all of you. Stinchfield's Army rolls. We'll see you tonight on the Real America's Voice show. Thanks for watching, everybody.